about that. So again, we're back to listening sections on the test. Now, listening, almost everything that we just discussed about reading applies to listening. It's just all the more important because in the listening sections, you don't get to look at the passage and it won't be repeated. And so your notes are more important in listening than they are in the spoken section, in the written section. And this is where you can't sit there and focus on every single word as it passes by, because the time you spend trying to focus on the exact meaning of one word, the speaker keeps on speaking, and you can be left behind. And so this is where you don't want to rely on the meaning of any one individual word. It's probably good enough for you to understand the basic meaning of an individual sentence. And sometimes you may have enough to go on if you understand the meaning of a paragraph. But realize that you don't need to understand every word, because that context will give you the general meaning of what it was just talking about, whether it's a good thing, whether it's a bad thing, whether it's something that's common or something that's rare. And then listen for an example or their definition afterwards. They'll say, like, you know, when this. Okay, that gives an example of it. I mean, I'm sure you've all had to practice this habit, just listening to the news or listening to someone speak in a class. You realize that you can't focus on every word, or you'll miss the whole next two sentences trying to understand that one word. And you will have a couple of different types of academic speech. You have lectures where one is just a professor is giving a talk, and this will be just the professor speaking, and this is likely to be the most formal type that you'll hear. And this will use the most, formal type of language. Another is an interactive lecture with students. This is more in a classroom setting where the students may ask questions, and this will be in a more informal setting where it'll still be an instructor passing on information, but the language may be a little more informal. And then you also can have types that are less formal, but still kind of on a professional level. And they're outside of a classroom setting, but where a student needs to talk with someone from the university or someone working at the library or someone or a professor outside of class. And then you will have informal speaking prompts, which are between two students. And those will use much more informal language, and they are a lot easier if you listen to when they'll say a concept that you may not understand, and they'll say it, their tone of their voice will question. They'll say, like, the heating system, the furnace and the pipes that run through the house to keep it warm. Okay, they just gave you the definition of that concept they just introduced that might have been difficult. So if you listen for the example or for the definition, they will very, very often give it to you. You're always expected to be able to solve the questions based on context, based on how the word is used in the sentence or the sentence before it or the sentence afterward. even if you don't understand that specific word. So that's important to realize, that no one word is that totally important.